Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2. In the previous session, we started creating a Flutter application. This application is a YouTube clone where you will be able to search for videos, check out video details, play videos, download the videos, see comments, etc. So this is the series dedicated to that. Just a bit of background, I come from Xamarin and .NET Maui background, and this is my first application that I'm building in Flutter. This is for me to investigate the capabilities of Flutter itself, and so far I'm really enjoying the experience developing in Flutter. I find it to be highly stable, as well as the community support, the library support. It is just amazing. I cannot consider myself going back to Xamarin or .NET Maui after playing with Flutter. So back to the video now. So this is the application that we were building, and this is where we left off last time, where we had built in this loading indicator, and we used a custom library called SpinKit to display a much nicer looking animated activity indicator. And we made this loading indicator as well as the error indicator as reusable controls, or reusable widgets rather, because everything in Flutter is a widget. So now what we are going to do, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the actual functionality of the application and start building on that. So for those of you who had watched my previous tutorial or the same application which I built using .NET Maui, you will realize, or you can go back and check out in more details, we are using YouTube Data API version 3. And if you go to the YouTube version 3 Data API reference page, you will see that there are a lot of endpoints that we can work with. The first one that we are going to start is the search, and within the search, the list endpoint. This is the endpoint which will allow us to search for something specifically. Let's say I will say if I want to search for iPhone 14 and I want the, let's say, maximum results that I want to come out is 10, and what is the information that I want to see? Okay, I want to restrict my result to just videos, because I can have videos, channels, shorts, different things. So I'm going to restrict myself to videos, and I am also going to include, let me see if I can get, sorry, my mistake, the part is going to be snippet. So I'm going to bring in the snippet details. So snippet, I will show you what is all there in the snippet, which is including the title, the description, the thumbnail URLs, etc. And Q is the query string where we can search for something. Let's say if I want to search for iPhone 14, and then if you want to try it out, I can click on, I can just use the API key and click on execute, and you can see this is the output that we get out. Let me just copy this over here and put it in JSON pretty, just to show you what is coming out. JSON pretty. So this is an online website that you can use to see how the information looks like. So make pretty, and you can see it is returning one result set which has kind, e-tag, next page token. The next page token is going to be useful because we are getting 10 results per page, and after every 10 results, if you want to get the next 10 results, we should be calling the same API with the next page token. This is my region code in Bahrain, and this is the list of items which are being returned. So it is returning me 10 videos specifically. So if I collapse all of them, you will be able to see that it is returning me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos. If I open any of the video item, it is again returning me the ID of the video, the snippet. This is where I was saying the snippet, when it was published, what is the channel ID, the title of the video, the description of the video, thumbnails in the default resolution, which is 120 by 90 pixels, medium resolution, or the high resolution. the title of the channel, and some other details such as the publish time and so on. So this is how we can do this. And if you go to the code, if I click on the show code, and if you see curl, this is the URL that you need to call: https youtube.aps.com YouTube version 3. And you remember, this is the URL that we set as the base URL in our application constants file. And after that is what we need to call. So this is the resource that we need to call, search. This is the resource, and then we are passing in some query string parameters to filter, which is the part is equal to snippet, max results is 10, the query is say iPhone, type is equal to videos. We should have put in videos over here with the O, and my or your own API key. So let's close this one. This is the response. So first thing we need to do is we need to convert this response into a model. Let me actually fix this just in case. Video. And now let me execute. So now this is returning me the result. I'm going to just copy paste this, and the way you do this, you will need to convert it to a Dart object, just like you have the JSON to C#, if you remember, or if you're used to quicktype.io. By the way, you can also use quicktype.io as well. But I use another tool which I will show you. So you can go to quicktype.io, you can paste it over here, and then in the language, instead of C#, you just choose Dart, and it is going to convert this code for you in Dart. But I prefer to use another one, which is JSON to Dart. I find that to be a bit better. I'll tell you the reason why. One thing you will note is in the QuickType version, it generates all these properties as non-nullable properties. Now, I know from real experience, and especially even in this particular project as well, and many other projects, that you cannot rely on what is coming from your API. For example, in the snippet, let's have a look at snippet. Sometimes maybe the description may come in as empty. Sometimes the thumbnails, maybe the default or the high resolution thumbnail is not available, or the publish time is not available. I can tell you for sure, even in YouTube, there are certain places where I'm sure some of the things are nullable. So since this is not defining it as nullable types, I prefer to use another one, which is JSON to Dart. So just search for JSON to Dart, and then this is the website that comes up, the first one. And all you need to do is just paste your JSON result over here, and then you can specify what is the name of your root class. In here, what it does, it always creates the root class as welcome. So this gives you an option to change it. I am going to say this is my video search result. Okay, and then I'm just going to go and generate the Dart code. So it will generate the Dart code for you. Don't be overwhelmed right now. We are going to simplify it a lot for you. So I'm just going to copy this and go back to my project, and under models, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it youtube_models.dart. And I'm going to paste in everything that I copied from there. So you can see right now it has put in question marks after each and every property or after every variable, because we do not know what data might be coming in as null, and Dart is null safe language. If you declare something as non-nullable and then null comes in this variable, the application is going to crash. So this is the result that we got. So for example, this is the video result, video search result. Let me try to simplify it to let you know. See, it has brought in based on the API response that we got. If I go over here, so the result had kind, e-tag, next page token, region code, page info. A lot of these things are there, which I know I am not going to use in my application. In your application, if you want to use some of them, please feel free to use them. In my case, I am only going to use these two properties, which is the next page token, because after every 10 results, if I need to requery to get the next or fetch the next 10 results, I need the next page token, and the results are going to be coming in items. So I do not need these. So then in the constructor, I can remove these as well. So my constructor is now simplified. Similarly, there are two additional methods that it has created in every class. One is from JSON and the other is to JSON. Now in .NET world or in Xamarin or Maui, you might be used to either newtonsoft.json package or system.text.json, which was introduced in .NET 3.1, I assume, or .NET 5, that allows you to serialize or deserialize a POCO object or a plain old class object, C# object into JSON notation, or convert it from JSON to the class. Underlying, it uses reflection. Since, as I was saying, Dart is null safe language, plus because of the performance, they do not allow reflection. So you cannot do that. There are no packages that you will find which can do this for you automatically. So rather than, there is an inbuilt method that they have provided where they convert the response which comes in into a map. Basically, a map is a dictionary in C# terms. So just forget about this word map, replace the word map with dictionary, and you are good to go as you are in C# terms. So it converts this whole thing into a dictionary. So a dictionary kind value. So this is the value, this is the key value, key value, key value, key value. And the way it is defined over here, you will notice it is defined as the key is always string and the value is dynamic, because we do not know whether it is a string, whether it is a date time, whether it is a list or an integer, can be anything. So the from JSON function is what takes the JSON content, which is this particular format, and converts it back into this class object. So this is the only function that we are interested in. It has also created another function which is to JSON, which will take this class object and it will convert it to JSON data. But we are not interested in this, because we are in our case, we are only converting from JSON to our class object. We are not doing the other way around. So I can safely remove that and be only bothered about from JSON. So I can remove this. Since we have removed this, I can also remove this. So what it is doing simply is, it is creating a new instance of video search result class from this JSON map, saying that my next page token is with the key, the value in this JSON map with the key next page token. And then I'm checking if JSON items is not null, then it is giving an empty item. Otherwise, it is going through each of the items and then adding it into this list. So it is creating this and then it is adding everything. If it is null, then it is not doing anything. It is just leaving it as null. So that's all we need to do. So page info, since we removed page info, we do not need the page info class. I can get rid of it. Item, this is the result item that we are getting. I do not like this name item. I would rather change this name to YouTube video. YouTube video, because I'm more interested in YouTube video. And the moment I change this to YouTube video, the one over here is complaining because it is expecting to be the same class items, which is not there anymore. So I can replace that with YouTube video. Same concept over here. I am not bothered about the string, the kind or the e tag. I am not interested. I am only bothered about the ID and the snippet. So I can get rid of this. And since I changed the name, even the constructor should change, and this factory method should also change. And I do not need this. I can get rid of it. So this is my from JSON to JSON. I'm not bothered about. I can remove ID. I'm only bothered about the video ID. So I can remove the kind from this altogether to keep things simple. Same concept here, I can remove, I don't need this. Snippet. Snippet, what do I need in the snippet? Publish date, publish stat, I will be using. Channel ID, I will be using. Title, I will be using. Description, yes, sure. Thumbnails, I will be using. Channel title, yes. Publish time and live broadcast content, no, I'm not interested in that. I can remove it to keep it simpler, and I can remove it from my constructor, and similarly I can remove it from my JSON method, and the toJSON whole method can go away. Thumbnails. Thumbnails, it is returning me 3 different type of thumbnails. So let's go back over here. You can see for each of the, or rather I can go here, for each of the video it is returning me 3 type of thumbnails, or 3 resolutions: default, medium and high. I'm not interested in the very low resolution one. I'm only interested in medium and high. Most of the cases I'll be using high, but only for some cases I will show you where I'll be using medium, so as to save on my my internet bandwidth. So maybe I can get rid of default and I only keep in the medium and the high, and I can get rid of this conversion, and I do not need this method. Okay, so the one thing that I want to do, this I do not like this name default, I would rather call it thumbnail. So let's rename that to thumbnail, and everywhere where it is complaining, let's change it to thumbnail and thumbnail and thumbnail. So this is my thumbnail class. I am not interested in the width or height, I just want the URL. And yep, then I can get rid of this and also get rid of this. Thumbnails, I think it has duplicated for me. Yep, I can remove this. So here you go. Here is my data model that we need for our application. So I can save this one. So I have got a video search result which has a list of items. Each of the items has an ID. ID is a class which has a video ID field, and it has a snippet. Snippet has much more information such as the title, the description, the thumbnails. The thumbnails have 2 different type of thumbnails in my case: medium quality, high quality. Medium is this, okay. So we can close this one. Now the next thing we need to do is, once we have our models ready, we need to write the API service. So let's create a new file which is YouTube API service. Let's get YouTube _API _service.dart. This is where I'm going to write code to call these APIs and get the data back. So I'll say class YouTube API service. So this is a simple class that I have created. Now what are we going to do in this class? I am going to create some methods, void say search videos, okay, and I can pass in string search term and string page token, and this is not returning anything right now. So this is where we will be doing some processing, wherein we will be making a call to using the HTTP client to internet to the YouTube API, and then we will be getting the result back and returning the information, which is something that we defined in our models, which is over here. These video search result, the list of YouTube videos, etc. So this is a simple one that we have created. Just a word of caution over here, the only difference in terms of variable naming I found is everything else. For example, int starts with small I, everything is the same except the string. String is the only one, unfortunately it is starting with a capital S instead of a small s, a lowercase s. So this is the only difference I found. Otherwise there are minor differences. For example, instead of dictionary you use a map, exactly the same concept, no difference. So this is our YouTube API service class, and I can create a YouTube API service constructor. So this is my YouTube API service constructor, and this is where I can do something. Now, one of the thing that the first thing I need to do, in fact, is I need to make a call to the internet to fetch this data from these URLs, the one that you see over here. I need to make a call. There are different packages available for you. One of the packages is HTTP, which is the very simple package. Let's go and find. This is the one, HTTP package, and you can again see it has 100% popularity. And this, if I go, you can see the usage. It's very simple. You just import this package and say your URL response is equal to http.post, or where we have an example of get as an example somewhere. Okay, they don't have an example for get, but there is http.get. You pass in the resource ID and you simply get this. The one that I investigated and I found more interesting is a package called Dio. It is, as the name suggests, a powerful HTTP client for Dart, which supports interceptors, file downloading, something that we'll be using, timeout handling. Interceptors is where we can go in and we can do retries and so on. Using is very simple. You just say, new instance of this class .get and your URL, and you get the response back. As simple as that. So to make use of this, I'm going to just copy this, go back to my pubspec.yaml, and under this spinkit, I'm just going to add this Dio package version 4.0.6, save this, and now what I can do, I can actually go ahead and I can declare a variable called Dio underscore HTTP client. Okay, first of all, it is complaining that I do not know what Dio is, so we can do a control dot to bring in this package using or import namespace, and then I have declared this as HTTP client, and you notice I have put it with an underscore over here. Underscore means this is a private variable, so I cannot say, if I create a new YouTube API service, I cannot say underscore HTTP client. I don't have access to that. But if I had put it without an underscore, then I would have gotten access to that. Right now there is an error, so it is not allowing me. So at the moment it is complaining that it's a non-nullable instance, so this means it needs to be declared. But I know I'm going to declare it later, so there is a keyword which is available which says late, and it allows me to declare this, and then it puts the responsibility on me to make sure that I will instantiate this over here. If I don't want to do this, I could have simply done it like this. I could have simply said Dio. This is one way, but I don't like declaring variables like this. I would rather declare them in my constructor. So I can, let's make it private, and I will say underscore HTTP client is equal to new Dio, and then I can say HTTP client dot base URL or options dot base URL equals to constants dot API service URL. You remember we declared these constants API service URL along with our API key. So this is how I can declare this. Now this is the function where I'm going to call to search for videos. So I will search for a particular search term and optionally page token. Now one thing I want to do is, I do not know whether, or in fact I know for sure, for the first time I should not be passing in the page token because I want to get the first 10 results. But after that, I want to pass in from the second query onwards, I want to pass in the search, the page token, so that I can get the next 10 results. To make these named optional parameters, I can just enclose it within these parentheses, and I can say this is empty string. So this is the default parameter. Now I can actually call it like this, just to show you. I can say search videos, and you see the only thing it is expecting for sure is the search term. It is not expecting page token to be provided. That is optional. So if I want to provide page token, I can then optionally provide page token some value. So this is what I was saying. This is some minor, of course, page search term, we need to provide something. So this is just a minor mindset adjustment that you also have to do. And I found a very nice video called Dart Fundamentals. I will post a link to that. I'll find that, I'll post it in the description. It's a 10 hours introduction to Dart programming language. You don't have to watch it, watch everything. You can fast forward it. And if you come from a C# background, you will be able to, even with the fast forward, you would be able to pick up everything. So this is how we'll be calling this function, passing in the search term for sure and the page token as optional. So what are we going to do? So we are going to first of all define our resource URL. So resource URI is equal to something, and what is our resource URI? So our resource URI is, let me copy this. This is our resource URI, right? So part is equal to snippet, max results is equal to 10, and query is equal to iPhone, right? But we don't want to hard code it to iPhone. We want to change it to this search term. So the way you do it, using string interpolation. So search term. So this is using string interpolation. Now in C# you put this $sign outside, but here for everything that you want to do, you can specify with a $sign inside. Now right now it is just giving me a warning, not a warning, it is just telling me since it is not a complex query, I do not need to specify these curly braces. I can simply say $search term. But since I come from the C# background and to keep it clean for me, I prefer this. I'll keep it like this. So this is one. I am searching for videos, and of course now my key. So where is my key coming from? My key is coming from, again, my constants dot API key. So my key is coming from my constants dot API key. So this is my search query. And you notice since we are also passing in the page token. So what I can now do is something like this. I can say if page token is not equal to empty, assuming, then I can say resource URI, I can append something to this. So what is that something that I want to append? And that something that I want to append is again ampersand, and I want to pass in page token equals to, and I can pass in my page token, which is coming from page token, right? So optionally, if the page token is not empty, I can inject it over here. Or rather than doing this, if I want to, this is a cleaner way of doing things, but if I want to make my life a little bit difficult, what I can do is I can again use string interpolation over here. So what I can do is something like this. I can put in a complex query. I can say next page token, not equals to, or page token dot is not empty. If it is not empty, then I can bring in this query over here, the one that we have. Let me put this, else nothing. So this is one way we can do this, but I know this becomes a little bit more difficult to read, so I'm going to leave it out and I'm going to put it like this so that it is easy for everyone to understand. I should rather call it next page token so that it is clear. And rather than doing this not equal to, I should say is not empty. Okay. Now once we have this, next thing we need to do is we have the resource URI. We need to get the response. We have to make an API call. So I have to say where response equals to underscore HTTP client dot get, and I need to pass in my resource URI. That is how easy it is to make. Now, one thing it will tell you that it is a asynchronous call. You see, it is saying it's a future of response. Future, if you are coming from Xamarin or .NET or .NET Maui world, this is your exact equivalent of task. So async programming. So ideally what I should be doing, I should be saying await. Right now I should be awaiting this, and then it will be coming in as the actual response rather than a future response. But to make this function call asynchronous, because right now it is complaining, to make this function call asynchronous, I have to just specify async in the function call. In C# you are putting async in the beginning. Here you are putting async at the end. So that's what we are doing. One of the things that I also want to do, because sometimes when we are searching in this search term, we can put in spaces. So what we can do is we can, or either we'll use spaces or we can use some special characters. So we should be using URI encoding. So encode full, and this is where I will pass in my URI. So in my search term, if I say iPhone space 14, the space will be converted to, I believe, %20f or %20, and then the API call will be made. And once I have the response, I need to return the video search result. We know the output of this call. The output of this call is this video search result class, which we have defined over here in our YouTube models. So video search result. So how do I create it over here now? Let's go back. So I just say dot from JSON. Remember, this method was created for us and it is expecting JSON data. Where do we get this JSON data from? We get it from response.data. Right? So video search result dot from JSON, passing in the JSON data, it will return an object of video search result object. Now at the moment it is complaining that, hey, you are returning something, but here you have said this is void. What do you mean? You cannot return anything. So this is very similar to your task. You have to specify that what is your return type. So I'm saying that I'm returning a future video search result, which means that now when I call this, I'll have to say await search results. If I remove this future, then I will not need to await this. But this is not how async programming works. So we will do it the proper way. So our YouTube API is ready for this one function. Of course, there are a lot more functions that we will need to add. Now let's go back to our view models. Let's start building our view models. Right now there is nothing. So before I start building the view models, I will create a base view model class, because I'm going to have base view model dot. I'm going to have multiple view models in my project. For example, there is one view model for the start page, there will be one view model for the video details page, etc, etc. I want to, and there is a lot of common code that we would want to make use of. So I would want to create a common view model base class, and then all my view models will extend or inherit from this base view model, and all the functionality will be available for me. If you watch the Maui Tube Player video series, you will notice exactly the same thing that I did over there as well. I created a base view model class. So I'm going to create a base view model class, and I'm going to extend it from change notifier. Don't worry, I'm going to explain what this is. So first of all, it is complaining. So let me bring in my foundation. This is where the change notifier is defined. So your change notifier is nothing but very similar to your iNotify property changed in .NET or C#. So there it is an interface. Here it is a concrete class. So change notifier, this is used to notify its parent or someone else, let's say a UI or whatever, that something has changed in me. Exactly the same thing that you do with change notifier. In iNotify property change. In C# you used to use the colon for inheritance. Here you use extends. So we are going to create something. So I'm going to have a string title, and I'm going to, you can see I'm not defining it as late or final, because because this value can keep on changing. I'll keep on changing this value from my code. And now since this underscore title is a private property, I declared it to be private. How do I expose it as a public property? There are two ways we can do this. One is very simple, is I just remove the underscore. That's it. So this is one way. The other way is string underscore title is equal to this, and then I can specify the getters and setters. So I can say string get title, and then this is returning my underscore title. And then similarly I can specify setter property title, and then I can say string value, and I can say underscore title is equal to value. So if you look at this and you look at this, both of them are serving the exact same purpose. There is no difference whatsoever between these two. Now, which one do you prefer to use? It is totally up to you. So I can, to make it even simpler, I can remove this and I can make this title with a capital T. I'm fine. We can use this. The only thing that you lose out on this is in this previous one, for example, if you want to do something more in this getter, maybe you want to do some other adjustments, or you want to do some computations before returning, or while setting you want to specify something more, then you will not be able to do it with this way. I prefer to use it this way, because here then I know that I can control the behavior in future if I require. So this is my way of doing this, but if you feel that this one works best for you, you can go ahead with that. So with this in mind, I'm just going to copy paste. Rather than you see me typing everything, I'm just going to bring in some code. So I have declared a title. Same thing I showed you exactly. I'm not doing anything funky. So title, private property, and then the getter and setter. Then I have a boolean is busy default it to false, and then I have a getter. I don't have the setter for this because I do not need this. It is going to be done internally. Title will be set from externally, so that's why I've provided a setter. Then I have the loading text, same thing, it will be specified from external places. So there is getter and setter. Data loaded I will be providing from externally, so it's a boolean property. I've set this setter. Is error state, error message, these are all the ones which are going to be set from externally. Whereas this is busy, it's only going to be set internally. It is not going to be given to anyone else to set. Why? Because I'm going to expose a method for this. So I'm going to say void set data loading indicators, and I can say bool is starting. Okay, and inside is where I'm going to do something. Now, not every time I want to specify, because sometimes it might be by default I want it to be true. So best way anyways is that you make it named optional parameter and then you specify it in the code, as we will see a little bit later. So something like this, you will then always need to call it set loading indicators instead of just saying true. You will never say true, you will never call it like this. Instead you will always call it with is starting and true. This is better for readability as well. This is just I like this way, but if you don't, you can remove this over here. So what we are going to do, we are going to say if is starting. So what are we going to do? We are going to, so whenever we are starting to load, we are going to set the is busy to true. We are going to set the data loaded to false. Is error state equals to false, because to start with we are not in any error state. There is no error message, so we empty it out. Else, if we are ending, then we will say loading text equals to 0. So the same thing we can do over here. Now loading text is coming from outside, so we can leave it. Loading text is equal to 0 and is busy equals to false. We are not busy anymore. That's it. And then all we can say is we can just say notify listeners. Notify listeners is raise property changed notification event. That's all it is doing. So after this function has executed calling, it is just going to notify the world that I'm done. You can take action, you can change your values, you can change your states depending on something. For example, when we start, the moment initially before making our API call, we'll call it with property equals to true. So it will set the is busy equals to true, notify the listeners, and then our animation, that spinning animation that we had over here, this will start showing up. And then once we are done, we will set it to false, again notify listeners. It will tell that we are done and we can hide it from the screen. So this is our base view model that we have created. Next thing we need to do is we need to create a start page view model. So we created a start page. So let's call a start page view model dot. Or I can rather rename it to look good with an underscore. Yeah. So this is going to be a class start page view model, and this is going to extend, instead of change notifier, I'm just going to extend it from my base view model. Simple as that. So this is a simple class. And now in this class, I am going to declare my YouTube API service, YouTube API service. Is equal to YouTube API service. I can do it in the constructor as well. Isn't defined for this type. Yes, that is why it was not picking up, because here you go, there was a typing mistake. So final, I need to declare a variable as well. Fine, API service, let's call it underscore API service is equal to new this, and I'm also going to have string next token equals to empty. To start with, I'm going to have my search term to start with. Let's start with iPhone 14. Okay, and then my videos are going to be in a list, so list of YouTube videos, and I'm going to call this YouTube videos, and I'm going to initialize, since I'm not declaring it late, I need to initialize it. The way you initialize a list is just with, sorry, let's do this again, open parenthesis and close parenthesis, that's it, square parenthesis, square brackets. So this is an empty list, and since I'm going to use it externally from my pages, I would also YouTube video, I will define a getter for this, and I'll say YouTube videos, and this is going to return me my YouTube videos. And then I can start page view model, I can create a constructor, and I can set the title equals to tube player. And where is this title coming from? This title is coming from our base view model. This is where we have defined our title. So this is the setter, and this is where it is coming from. So this is our this. And now the next thing that we need to do is we need to actually make a call to get the videos. This is something that our front end will do. So for that, I'm just going to create a future void, basically an async void function. In C# terms, I'm going to call it search videos. Okay, and it is going to be an async function. And what am I going to do over here? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set my data loading indicators to true. Okay, and I'm going to set my loading text to hold on while we search for YouTube videos, right? So this is the loading text. So we are setting our indicators, loading text, and then we will say YouTube video, and we will specify, basically we will create a new instance of it, which is new list of YouTube videos. And now once we have done this, let's try to actually do something. So catch, so try, and then we have a catch. We will catch some exception if there is any, and then we will have finally if something needs to be done. So let's, okay, so what are we going to do in the try block? So we are going to search for the YouTube videos. Search for YouTube videos. We will write some logic over here to search for this, and once the search is complete, we will say data loaded is equal to true, right? And finally, once everything is done, we will set data loading indicators false. So we will notify our UI that we are done. And in case of an error, what do we want to do in the case of an error? So we can set our is error state equals to true, and we can set some error message to something went wrong. Please try again later, and if the problem persists, please contact support at, and then we can specify our email address, constants dot maybe we did not import our app class, so constants dot email address. So this is what we can put in. So please contact support at this. So this is the error message that we want to display. So wonderful, this is working right now. It's a simple function. Now this is where we will need to put in our logic. Now I'll follow exactly the same method. By the way, if you look at this code versus the code that I have written for .NET MAUI, you will notice it is exactly the same code, not much of a difference. So I explained in that video why I have broken it down into a separate function. So I'm going to do that even here as well. So let me show you how we are going to do. So I'm going to create a new function called future void, and I'm going to call, it's going to be a private method called get YouTube videos, and it is going to be an async method. And the reason I'm creating it separately, because I'm going to make use of the same method for searching as well as for getting the next pages, or even the first time when I want to make use for this. So that is the reason. And then I can simply copy this over here, and I can say await. I can call this function. So what are we going to do in this function? So of course we are going to search the videos. So how are we going to search the videos? We are going to say where video search result is equal to await underscore API service that we created dot search for videos, and we are going to pass in our search term, the search term that we defined over here, and the next token search term, and the next page token is underscore next token. So we are just going to define this. We are going to get this. Once we get the result back, what we are going to do is we are going to say our next page token or next token is equal to the video search result that we got dot next page token. So we are going to store that. Now one of the things you will notice, it is giving me an error. It is saying that the value of type string or nullable string cannot be assigned to a variable of type string itself, because we said that some of the data can be empty. So that's why we declared this as nullable string next page token. So how do we fix this? Exactly the same way as you do it in C#. You just postfix it with an exclamation mark, and it will ignore it if this is null. So we set it to null, and then we need to, so in our YouTube videos that we have over here, the list, this list YouTube videos, we are just going to go and add all our videos that we got, which is video search result dot items, right? That's all we are going to do. Now again, it is complaining that the argument of type list, nullable list, cannot be assigned to this list is not nullable. So the same thing, we just need to postfix it with the exclamation mark, and we are done with our start page view model for now. There are a lot more things that we'll need to come back to and do it over here, but right now we are done. So let's go back to our start page. So we can go back to our start page. Now this is where a lot of work is going to happen. So let's actually get rid of anything else that we are not using. In fact, we will be using this, so let's leave this. So we have, what did we define? We defined a scaffold. Okay, let me just move away this scaffold out of the way for the time being. Okay, I'm just going to put this, I'm going to cut it out. Now, since I'm using an MVVM pattern, I need to let my page know that this belongs to, or this page should utilize the view model, which is the start page view model. So how do we do this? For this, I did a lot of research and I found a very nice package which makes it extremely easy for us to work with MVVM. It is called Stacked. So I can simply go over here. Sorry, I can go over here, copy this, and I can bring it in my pubspec.yaml. Save this, and this is the package that we are going to use. And what are we going to do over here? So instead of returning our content directly, I'm going to return a view model builder.reactive object. You will notice the moment I bring this in, it also brought in this stacked.dart file or the import, and let's clean it up. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just returning a reactive view model, and this is my view model builder. So what is my view model builder? What is the view model that we are going to use? It is actually a function, anonymous function. So this is going to be my start page view model. Simple. So this is my start page view model. Let's clean this up. So this is my start page view model. And then what is my builder? Builder is where the actual code will go. So the builder actually is another function. So I can just create an anonymous function. So it will take in 3 parameters, say context. This is the page context, the view model, and the child. Okay, and right now it is giving an error because it is not returning anything. So I'm just going to put it as container for now, just to make sure that the error goes away. So I'm just telling it that it is view model builder. So this is my view model, start page view model, and also I need to specify this over here as well. So start page view model, I need to specify it here as well. Only then I will get this as this variable VM that I can use. Okay, so what are we going to do inside of this? So inside of this is actually where I can go and put this scaffold over here now. So let me go back there, and this is where my actual code is going to be returned. And it is complaining why. Red color. Yeah, there was one missing. And this is inside is where I'm returning my scaffold. So let me just hide it for now. Very simple view model. And then this is the body. Now what happens when the view model is ready? Or you remember when we created in our view model this search videos class. So how do we call this method? So to call this method, we have another one which says on model ready, and whenever the model is ready, and this model is, again, let's call it VM. And what do we want to do with this? I'm going to just say vm.search videos. So basically it is going to call this search videos immediately. The moment it is bound, it is as good as saying it is on initialized or on navigated to go and call this method, which is going to set the data in these variables, which is this one that we will be making use of. So this is our basic structure for the page right now. So let us start fixing this. So very first thing that I want to do is in the text, in the app bar where we had hard coded this to Tube Player, ideally we should be just setting it to vm.title, whatever title is coming from the page. And let me do something, let me show you what do I mean by that. So we will see this in action, how this looks like. So let's close this. So you can see exactly the same thing, nothing has changed, but we are seeing this title as Tube Player, but this time it is not hard coded, it is coming from the view model title. If I go back to my start page view model and I change this to Tube Players, right? And now I need to do a hot restart because this is a code change, not the UI change. You can see it has been updated. So this information is coming directly from my view model. It is not bound inside of or hard coded in the UI itself. So what is the next thing that we need to do? So one thing for sure, we do not need to show this loading indicator. Instead, we need to be showing something dynamically. So what is that dynamic? So that is where we need to build the user interface. I can simply go ahead and start building this interface directly over here. I can very well do that, but to keep it straightforward or keep it neat and easy to maintain, I'm going to rather create a function, and that is where I will build my UI. So let's create a private function called build UI, and I'm going to call that function. Now, of course, that function definitely does not exist. Let's see if we can create a method build UI, and it is going to return a widget, right? This is where I'm going to build my UI. So what do I want to do? I want to do something. So remember in my, why is it complaining still? It is not returning anything yet. So let me return a text for now. Let me save this. So you can see at least this is how the UI is built. So what am I going to do? You remember in our view model, or rather in our base view model, we had a few properties. We had the is busy, we had is error state, and we had data loaded. So there were three states that we had. I could have very easily converted these three things into an enum. I could have used it that way, but yep, maybe in the next iteration I can. So what I should do is I should check if there is any error, and if so, show the error indicator. Okay, so what is the error indicator that we are going to show? So how are we going to check? So we are going to check view model dot. So we need to check our view models is error state property. How do we check for this? In this function, we don't have access to our view model. There is one way I can do. I can pass in this view model that I have access to, which is coming to me over here. I can pass in, this is one way, Or another way I can do, because I can tell you I'm going to do this a lot of places rather than doing it over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create it as a variable at the class level itself. So I'm going to call it late start page view model, and I'm going to call it say view model. Okay, and then over here in the builder, the moment this is assigned, I'm going to say view model is equal to VM. So this is going to be available to me throughout. So now I have stored this view model in this variable, and now I can check it over here. So I can say view model dot is error state. So if I am in the error state, I should return my error indicator. And what is the error text? My error text will be view model dot error message. Remember, we created this reusable error indicator. So this says how I can check for if I am in the error state. Then I can also check if the state is still busy, then show the loading indicator. So how do I check for this? I can say is if my view model dot is busy, I can return loading indicator, and it is expecting the loading text, which should be coming from again my view model dot loading text, right? And only if I can say if data is loaded, then show actual UI. So what is the actual UI? So I can say if view model dot data loaded, then I can say return. Right now I don't know what is that UI. We'll construct that. I'm just going to return let's return a text. Data is loaded. Maybe we can put in view model dot YouTube videos dot length. Okay, we can perhaps display the number of items which we have at the moment. Okay, else if nothing else happens, I am just going to return a simple container, basically doing nothing. So let me save this. So you can see data is loaded 10. I'm going to do something. Let me stop this. I am going to show you so that it makes a little bit of sense. You can see it is getting the videos, and depending on your internet connection, it can be a few milliseconds, it can be a few seconds. I'm going to induce a delay. So I'm going to say future dot delayed, and I'm going to say the duration is in seconds, maybe 10 seconds. Let's put a duration of 10 seconds and let's await this delay. So it's going to await this delay. And since I will be showing you something else as well, let me induce this delay at the very beginning. After this 10 seconds, it is going to go and make this API call, which is calling our API service and showing the result. So let's have a look. Let's wait for the application to build. So the application is loading up. Ideally, if everything goes correctly, for 10-12 seconds, it should be showing me this loading indicator with the text that we put in our view model. Hold on while we search for YouTube videos. And after 10 seconds, it should show me data is loaded and the count of the videos which have been loaded. Now, one of the things I am going to do is, just to demonstrate to you, I'm going to create a fault so that over here you notice that if we are in the error state, it will be showing an error message. So where is my YouTube API service? In this YouTube API service, I'm going to change the URL. Instead of search 1, I'm going to change it to, sorry, search, I'm going to change it to search 1, and then I'm going to restart my application, hot restart. So yep, it is loading. It will take 10 seconds because I put my future.delayed in the beginning. Where did I put? Over here. And then it calls this, and you see there is an error that came up. So oh, something went wrong. If the error persists, please contact support at this email application email. So let's actually fix this. There is a spelling mistake. All right, and now we can actually go back and we can fix it. So right now you can see this is working. If I do a hot restart now, I have fixed it. It will wait for 10 seconds, and then after 10 seconds it will show me that it has retrieved 10 videos. Of course, it is not going to show me the actual videos because we have not built that UI yet. That is what we will be building in our next video. I hope you found it useful so far. So stay tuned for more. I am assuming it is going to take another 5-6 sessions more to complete this whole application. So stay tuned till next time.